IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories. Hope you all are well and keeping safe. On the podcast today, we have a returning guest, Ayush Kumar, or Soul Traveler Kumar as he's known on Instagram. Let's jump right into the episode and find out where Ayush is taking us to.
So, with that introduction, we'd love to welcome back Ayush Kumar, a very dear friend and traveler to the Musafir Stories. Welcome, Ayush. Welcome back again.
Hey, hi, Seth. How are you doing? It's always a pleasant experience to come back to the Musafir stories and get back onto the shoes of a Musafir. I think I'm really lucky I've been here for the third time. Thank you for that.
No, thank you. It's our pleasure. And Ayush, for those of you who are listening to Ayush for the first time, he's literally our resident expert on all things Odisha on the Musafir Stories. We have done two wonderful episodes on one on Bhubaneswar and the other one on Puri. Both of them really well appreciated by the listeners. So for anybody who hasn't listened to those, we'll make sure to link those in the show notes so you can go check those out too. Ayush, firstly, even before we get into the topic for today, why don't you give a quick introduction for the first time listeners, and then we can jump on to where you're taking us to today.
Sure, Seth. Hello, everyone. Hi, travelers and Musafirs across. So, this is Ayush Kumar. I'm from Odisha, a native to Odisha, and I'm settled in Bangalore. It's been almost 11 years for me, right from the days of college to my job. I'm a solo traveler, extensively done solo traveling across the southern regions since I don't get much of a chance in holidays to go to this north part of India. And it's always amazing to take Musafirs through the journey of a storytelling, or basically on the journey of as the name suggests, of this channel, the Musafir Stories itself.
Thank you so much, Ayush, and really looking forward to it. And also tell us where you're taking us to today. Is it going to be a hat trick of Odisha episodes, or is it going to be a totally new place this time?
So yes, so this will be a very new experience. I think about 1800 kilometers away from Odisha. So it's near our very pleasant hometown, my second hometown, Bengaluru. It's the other city, or the other quaint hill station of the Nilgiris called Coonoor. So I think most of the people are very much aware about Ooty or Udhagamandalam or Uttakamand, but there are a specific number of people who know about Coonoor. So today my journey would be towards Coonoor, the beautiful hill station of the Nilgiris in Tamil Nadu state of India.
Wonderful, wonderful. Looking forward to this. And even in our trips to the Nilgiris, it's mostly been to Ooty and like a little touch on a couple of places in Coonoor. So really looking forward to exploring more of this, like you said, really quaint little town. It's always kind of shadowed by Ooty in terms of getting all the tourist attention. But today we'll find out how Coonoor is different and what it has to offer to all of the travelers. In terms of just the orientation, you mentioned that this is close to Ooty, but what is it, about 20 odd kilometers, I guess, or about that much?
Yes, it's just 22 kilometers from Ooty. I think it's on a little lower elevation compared to Ooty, so you would still get the same vibes which you get in Ooty, but a very, very peaceful vibe, I would say. Ooty has become over commercialized and over touristy at this point of time. You would probably find the entire jam of Bangalore being there in Ooty now. So if you still want to get a little hang and little vibe of the true Nilgiri experience, I think Coonoor is the best place apart from Kotagiri, which is again another hill station nearby Coonoor.
Okay. And in terms of time of the year, which is more suitable to visit these places, Ayush, what do you recommend, or when did you visit?
See, my travel to Coonoor was in the month of March end, which was just towards the beginning of the, I would say, the summer season and the ending of the winters. Winters are quite a bit harsh on the Nilgiris since they are located almost 2,200 meters above the sea level. But I think since these are hill stations, you can visit all year round. They are very good to visit all year round. I would specifically mention the summer season because it's very hot, not the great season to do or to be in the plains of India since it's a very humid and a hot place. Nilgiris, as it was described by the Britishers as well, it was a paradise for them because they used to feel same climate as England or the same climate as UK. So of course, summers are the best time. Apart from that, if someone really wants to get the feel of a hill station next to Himalayas and next to the northern hill stations of India, I think Nilgiris is the only place south of the Himalayan ranges, which is very cold. So winters again is an extremely good time to visit. You can actually see ground frost, which is very rare to see in the southern plains or the southern region of India. But I think it's not a great deal to visit during the monsoon season because it can get extremely wet and it might hamper the entire plan of your trip to Coonoor, and you may not be able to enjoy it that much because the entire views are covered with mist and fog. But yes, that provides another different, I would say, an experience altogether. Correct. But as a tourist, as a traveler, the best season would be either from March, April, May, or towards October, November, December, going towards January and February. So these are the good seasons to go to Coonoor as well as Ooty, both.
Okay. Yeah, wonderful. Thanks so much for laying that out in so much depth. Just also touching quickly upon the background of the place itself from a historical perspective, given that this is part of the Nilgiris, right? Like with any of the neighboring places, this has been ruled by a lot of the previous southern dynasties, right from the Satavahanas to the Gangas, Kadambas, Rashtrakutas, and more recently the Hoysalas and Vijayanagar Empire. I think lastly it was under the rule of Tipu Sultan before the Britishers took over after the last Anglo-Mysore War, right? Since then, the Britishers really felt like this was like second home for them, right?
Exactly.
Home away from home, like you would say. So they started this as a sanatorium initially for treating soldiers who were injured and stuff like that. And eventually, like this area, right, especially Ooty, it became the summer capital of the Madras presidency. So it has been in the spotlight, and a lot of things in terms of the development and even things we see remnants of now will be starting from around that period, right? Around early 1800s is when the development started, and we'll touch upon a lot of those things today. And the other piece of it is also, like you mentioned, even from a ecological standpoint, this is a part of the Nilgiris biosphere, right? So ecologically as well, very, very diverse. It's supposed to be home to a number of different species of flora and fauna. So overall, just a very, very rich place. The Nilgiri Hills, the range itself, that's actually a part of the Western Ghats, like we commonly know, and it's supposed to be like a 150 million year old rock formation. So even from that perspective, right, like a geological perspective, very, very rich and significant part of the Indian subcontinent. And we're glad that we are kind of exploring and doing like a little bit of a deep dive into the region today and having you share your experience. So in terms of getting there, Ayush, how do you suggest one gets there, or how did you get there?
So, Saf, my travel experience or travel journey to Coonoor was right from Bangalore. So there are many mediums to go to Coonoor. It's a very accessible city or an accessible town. The first and the most primary medium would be a bus transportation or any public transportation. But there are regular buses right from Coimbatore or Bangalore or any of the major cities down south, Chennai. The second would be your own transportation. I think it's a great deal if you do your own transportation or your own vehicle towards Coonoor, because if you're coming from Bangalore, you pass Mysore, you pass Madumalai, you pass Bandipura,
Yeah.
And then you also pass a place called Goodloor and Madhumalaya, as I mentioned before. So the entire trip, right from beginning from Bangalore to reaching that place, is extremely beautiful, and I think very diverse in terms of ecology, as you have mentioned. The Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve consists of a very important part in the southern region, as well as in hotspot region for the entire country and the world. The most important and the most unique feature about reaching Coonoor would be my experience, which was the Nilgiri Mountain Railways, which is not only an UNESCO World Heritage Site, but it is one of the few railways which is still run by the steam engine. So you would you would get the experience of the bygone era of the Britishers, or the bygone colonial era, where people used to travel in a slow medium, surrounded by mist, right from the smell of the smoke from the steam engines. So the best way I would suggest any traveler, any person who is coming from anywhere across the world and across the country, is to take the Nilgiri Mountain Railways, which is an experience in itself. It's a 4.5 hours journey almost from a place called Mettupalayam, which is on the I would say on the footplains of the Nilgiri Mountains nearby Coimbatore. It's about 30-35 kilometers from Coimbatore. So what I did is I took my bus from Bangalore, which was going towards Coimbatore. I got down at Mettupalayam, and from Mettupalayam, I just waited for around 2 hours, and I took the Nilgiri Mountain Railways, which takes about 3.5 hours to reach Coonoor, almost 3.5 hours, 4 hours to Ooty almost. So one thing to note about this railways is, since it's an UNESCO World Heritage Site, and there are limited number of seats because it's a toy train. Basically, it's a narrow gauge train which has fewer number of seats, fewer number of compartments. You need to be very, very particular about getting the tickets. So you cannot just go to the railway station and get a ticket. It's not that easy to do that. So you need to have a prior booking for it. It's available easily on IRCTC, but yes, make sure it's a very, very demanded railway route of the Indian Railways. So book it in advance, at least 2 months before. And there are I would say two classes which are available. One is the first class, which is extremely, again, very comfortable and beautiful. And the other is the general class. Both of them provide an extensively beautiful journey up the hills.
So Ayush, when I was after I completed my 10th standard, my mother wanted to take me for a trip. Okay, so we had gone to Ooty, and
Okay.
from Ooty we had actually taken the toy train and gone to Coonoor. So back then, I'm talking about like 2005.
Okay.
So at that time, the tickets were really easy to get. We just went on the platform, and they gave us two options, saying that the first class ticket is like some $100 back then, and
Okay.
the general was like 5 rupees. Okay,
Oh
so we
my
thought,
God.
yeah, so we thought we'll like, okay, let's try the first class. So I remember we had gone in the first class, so it was really easy to get the ticket. But then, flash forward or move forward, like when Saif and I did the Ooty trip a few years back, I was under the same impression that we're going to get the tickets at the counter. So when we went there, unfortunately, we did not get the tickets at all. And the guy is like, oh no, you're not going to get it here. You have to book it
Exactly.
online and all that. And when we checked online, it was like booked for like so many days ahead. So how did you
Two
manage
months.
to... Exactly.
Yeah.
So how did
So
you manage to get the tickets?
Faiza, what I had decided that I would be going to Coonoor in a season which is not a very peak touristy season. So
Oh,
I went
okay.
in the month of March because it's just the beginning of summers. And you have the board examinations, you have all the different state level examinations, right? So the crowd in Ooty and Coonoor is a bit lesser, and I went on a weekday,
Okay.
prior
Oh,
to a
awesome.
weekend. So that's how I planned it. So to mention to all the Musafirs and the travelers here, make sure you're booking the ticket at least 2 months before. I think the
Wow.
booking itself starts, yes, 2 months before. If you are really lucky, you would get the tickets in the second class, which is the general class, a little easier compared to the first class. So I think there are about 4 compartments, out of which there is only one first class, and there are three general class compartments available in the toy train, basically the
Right.
narrow gauge train. The best part about this train, Saif and Faiza, would be that I took the train right from the originating station, which is Mettupalayam.
Okay.
So So it's on the plains, right, on the plains of the Nilgiri Mountains. So you would get the ticket from Mettupalayam to Coonoor a bit easier compared to again going from probably Coonoor to from Ooty to Coonoor. That's a
Oh.
very difficult stretch to
Yeah.
get the tickets. So this is an important point. What you can do always is you can just come by a bus from Ooty to Coonoor. It's just half an hour or 40 minutes of beautiful bus ride across the hills and the roundabouts and the Nilgiri Mountains. You get down near the railway station. Be sure to reach near the Coonoor railway station at least 1.5 hours before the train departs. I think there are about 3 daily trains
Yeah.
from Coonoor, from Ooty to Coonoor and Coonoor to Ooty, vice versa. So reach there, and it's totally on the luck. We cannot guarantee it because of course there are ticket reservations available online, which is from the Indian Railways portal IRCTC. So it's always a great choice to do the tickets from IRCTC itself so that you have a confirmed ticket with you, or else go to the Coonoor railway station, not to the Ooty railway station. Coonoor railway station, stand in the queue for a little about. You have a high chance of getting a ticket backwards from Coonoor
Oh.
to Ooty, and yes, and that train stretch is extremely beautiful. But but one sad part about that route, now it has become I think Saif and Faiza, because you visited in 2005 when Ooty was still Ooty.
Yeah.
I would say it still had that feel of a vintage
station
hill
and yeah.
station, correct. But now when you go to Ooty, probably after 15 kilometers after exiting Ooty as well, you will find houses, like the plantations everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, all of these things are definitely true, but still, even after all these years, I'm sure Ayush, the charm of that train ride, the toy train ride remains. Yeah, that I don't think has changed much. How
It
was
has
your
not changed much.
experience? Yeah, how was your
Yeah.
experience?
So let me give a experience from Mettupalayam to Coonoor, which is a less known destination or less known train ride because it's a longer one. It's about 3.5 hours from Mettupalayam. The train departs at morning exactly 7:10. So, since it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, you would be astonished to see the railway stations itself. It's so beautiful, like it's picture perfect, postcard perfect railway stations. You have the background of the Nilgiri Mountains where the sun is rising. It will be beautiful yellow tinge on the mountains with a little bit of greenery all around. You have the steam engine which will be parked on the platform, and the whistle, the sound of the steam engine itself makes everyone a bit nostalgic. It will take you back to the days of the British. So this journey to I think Coonoor would be about 35 kilometers approximately from Mettupalayam. But this stretch is known to be one of the steepest in the entire country and in the entire world as well. It's not an easy rail route to be built. It took I think around 22 years to build this journey. Now we are covering it in a span of 5 hours. But the sacrifice and the time taken to build this journey or this railway route is extremely an engineering marvel, I would like to call. Each and every railway station which is present on this route, I think there are approximately 9 or 12 railway stations, and some are commercially not available in the sense they are only meant for the railway purposes.
Right.
So the best part about this journey would be that they start the train, and at each and every railway station they stop the train because they want to fill the water in the steam.
Right.
Engines do not have that capacity to go for a very long time, and they are historical like engines. Some engines are almost 100 years old. Can you imagine that? It's not an easy task to run it. The first railway station which I would like to mention would be, I think, Hillgrove. That was one of the most beautiful hill stations I had ever seen. You cannot imagine how beautiful the journey was. Like the steam engine right parked on the platform. There were huge mountains all across, a beautiful river flowing down, a small waterfall. Can you imagine the sense and the sounds which it would be producing at that point of time? And there were chirpings of birds all around. Because it's a biosphere reserve, you do not find human settlements that much. It's still a very protected natural habitats for a lot of elephants, a lot of birds, and a lot of wild animals there. There are a lot of tigers, leopards all across. So it's very common to spot elephants on the route. I actually got to spot elephants on the route while going towards Coonoor, as well as I got to see something called as the Indian bison, or in Hindi, or
Right.
in the Indian, yes, the gaur,
Yeah.
the Gaur. So that animal was abundantly present across the railway tracks across the journey. So that itself gives a different excitement. You do not get to see that in a normal Indian railways or in
Yeah.
today's era in any place. right? So that's the entire aura of that railway journey. So and one thing I have forgotten to mention is, since it is one of the steepest railway journeys in the entire world, in the entire country, it is supported by a system called as the rack and pinion. So which is like, and we would have studied in our engineering or in our schools, rack and pinion system. So it's like a pulley which is used to keep the train coaches or the railway intact, or get held with the particular track, so that it doesn't go back because it's that steep. So this rack and pinion system is only present in the country in that particular railway section.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, especially with the elevation and the gradient,
Yes.
right? Like you mentioned, this is almost like a 10-degree gradient. So
Correct.
you need that. In general railways or the usual railways, you'll basically see the two rails. Here you'll have that rack or pinion in the center, right? It's almost like that a cog and a gear mechanism that
Correct.
keeps the train kind of like helps the train push upwards, right? Because of the elevation again, or the
Exactly.
gradient. So
Yes.
yeah, very interesting. Like you said, definitely engineering marvel too, not just like from a historical perspective or a biodiversity perspective, but even
Correct.
from an engineering perspective, it's really commendable.
Yes.
And no wonder, right? Like I guess all of these things factor into it being a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So really glad that you enjoyed the journey. And what was the next stop after Hillgrove?
So the next stop after Hillgrove would be Coonoor itself. So in between you would find several, I think 3 or 4 railway stations. I do not really remember the numbers, but the major one was Hillgrove. Then comes Coonoor, and I think there is another station called as Runnymede,
Right.
which also comes on the way while going to Coonoor. So each and every railway station there, Saif and Faiza, has a distinctive blue and white paint. If you notice
Yeah.
it, like Nilgiri itself means blue mountains, right?
Sure.
Right.
So maybe they have taken the inspiration from that, and they have painted each and every railway station in a blue and white color. And they have not destroyed or not made any modern advancements across the railway stations. It
Right.
still presents the actual buildings which were constructed 180 or 114 years back, because this railway started long back in 1908. So another amazing thing about this journey is many of the Bollywood songs, especially the Chaya Chaya, so everybody knows in the country. Yes. So many people get confused that which railways was used to shoot that particular song, but that was the Nilgiri Mountain Railways. And when you go across, or when you cross that particular stretch, you would get to know, okay, this is that place where that train was filmed. Basically the song was filmed. So there are about I would say 250 bridges, more than 100 tunnels, more than 16 tunnels, and a lot of curves. It's a very curvy train journey. So it's not a plain train journey as you would expect. You would be like a snake going across meandering across, going upwards towards the hills.
Yeah.
So that is how beautiful the journey is. Yes.
Yeah, and I think the good part is, like I mentioned, it is also very slow, right? It only goes at the speed of about 20 odd kilometers, so you can also like relax
Enjoy
and
the view.
enjoy the
Yeah.
Yes.
views and the trains. And yeah, like very popular with a lot of movies. Also, the most popular
Yes.
obviously being Chaya Chaya from Dil Se.
Correct.
The other also older movie that comes to mind is Sadma, starring Kamal Hassan and Sridevi, if you would have
Yes.
seen
yeah.
that was also shot using the Nilgiri Mountain Railway
Correct.
systems, and in and around Coonoor itself. And there's a few other movies too we'll definitely touch upon, but Kapoor and Sons, for example, was also
Exactly.
shot extensively in Coonoor. So yeah, very beautiful and picturesque place, and no wonder even Bollywood and Collywood, Tollywood, whoever is all were basically making a beeline to shoot movies, or at least in the past, right? A lot of the movies were used to be shot. Cool. Thanks so much for sharing this wonderful journey. It is definitely a highlight of a visit to Coonoor or to the Nilgiri Mountains area, right?
Yes.
Ride in the toy train or this Nilgiri Mountain Railway. So just make sure to do it, and yeah, make sure to book it, because like I said, especially given how important this is, you don't want to miss it out, right? By taking chances and trying to book it late. And the problem is, like, even if you want to take a chance, in case you miss it, the next train is about 3 or 4 hours later, and it might just screw up your rest of the schedule for the day. So
Exactly. Yes.
just make your plans accordingly. Now, in terms of just going around the city itself, now that you've enjoyed or getting first-hand experience of the train ride, what was planned next from your side, and how long of a like a itinerary would you recommend, and how long was yours?
So my travel journey or my itinerary was for 3 days almost, and I
Okay.
was doing a solo traveling. I had planned and I had kept it in my mind to explore the unexplored side of Ooty or the
Okay.
unexplored side of Coonoor, particularly. This time I didn't concentrate at all towards Ooty. I didn't actually get a chance much to visit towards Ooty. So it was my primary focus was around Coonoor. So I think it's a very ideal to plan it for 2 or 3 days in Coonoor
Okay.
to get the true sense of it. I'm talking in respect to a backpacker's destination in terms of a solo traveling or in terms of exploring what is unexplored. So if you really want to cover everything in a day, there is an option for that as well. You have some viewpoints, just take an auto rickshaw ride and go across and cover it and come back. But that's what most of the tourists do. They have actually missed out the real beauty of what Coonoor has to offer. So a great deal would be to plan it for 3 days. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Now, take us through like your journey, as well as like touching upon some of the other points of interest that, like you said, maybe you didn't or touch upon in this journey, but the usual
Correct.
suspects, right? Most people do visit them. So let's start
Yes.
with that, and why don't you take us around and show us around Coonoor, Ayush?
Yes, sure, Saif and Faiza. So once you get down on the or deboard the train, you can take up an auto rickshaw ride across. So there are a lot of auto rickshaws who have a planned itinerary for entire day. So the first and the most important place I think within the Coonoor town itself would be the Sims Park, with which if you compare to the botanical gardens of Ooty is equivalently very beautiful, but this is very dense. It's very foresty. You would get a lot of trees, about 1,000 species. That's not a small number, and some of the trees are ancient. Like there are trees of Rudraksh, which is not an easy thing to find anymore in the subcontinent of India, except the Himalayan ranges basically. So Sims Park is a great deal to do it in the morning, early morning. Once you're done with your breakfast or before, and just as an early morning walk, you can go to the Sims Park. You can just do some birding. There is a lot of scope for birding. I actually got to meet some of the wildlife or explorers or the wildlife photographers or bird photographers to be specifically, because Nilgiris is a place where you find a lot of species of birds. So Sims Park is a great spot to do that if you're interested towards ecology and animals. The second place which comes to my mind straight away is the Dolphin's Nose Point. So the best part about this journey is when it's a little far from the Coonoor town, not within the Coonoor town. It's about 9 to 12 kilometers away from Coonoor. So you can take up your own vehicle or an auto rickshaw, and it will cross through very beautiful valleys and deep forests of the Nilgiris, and it is actually located on a very good altitude, so you would get a very picturesque view across the mountains, across the valley which is there. Even if you have a very clear day, you might be able to see the plains of Coimbatore, which is about 35 kilometers from there. And to some extent you would also get a chance to visualize some of the places of the Nilgiri Mountain Railways, the bridges and the railway lines. You can see it from the top. So Dolphin's Nose Point is another point where you can see the beautiful Catherine waterfalls. So Catherine waterfalls is one of the tall waterfalls, I would say, located in the Nilgiris. And actually there is a possibility to trek and go to the Catherine waterfalls, but that's a different topic. You would have to go to Coonoor. You would have to go to Kotagiri. There's another hill station, I think 20 kilometers, 15-20 kilometers from Coonoor, and you can trek down to that waterfall as well. That's a possibility. The second point or the second other spot little further down would be the Lamb's Rock viewpoint. So Lamb's Rock viewpoint, again, when I went, it was in the month of January, so it was a very cold season. So it was extremely windy, very breezy and cold. It's located on a very high altitude, Saif and Faiza. So once you the entire route right from Dolphin's Nose to going towards the Lamb's Rock itself is very beautiful. Actually, you can record with a GoPro. The video is the place is so beautiful. It's on a cliff, so you would see the tea plantations descending down, and on the uphills you would see a lot of greenery and forests of the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. So from Lamb's Rock viewpoint, I think it's just a viewpoint to get the, I would say, the picturesque panoramic view of the Nilgiri Mountains. You would see a lot of mountains across. But when I went, it was a very misty day because it was winters. So I couldn't get to see a lot actually the view completely, but I think it was a great experience to do in itself. You have some of the budgie places located across, so you might wanna sip in some good Nilgiri chai. Of course, Nilgiri is known for its tea as well.
Yeah.
So you can have some good Nilgiri tea, the masala tea or the normal tea. And if you get a chance, you might also be astonished and amazed to know there is a bhaji which is made up of
Tea
tea
leaves.
leaves.
Oh yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I didn't know this.
So yes, but actually when you would be expecting tea might be a bit bitter, right? When you have it in the raw form, it is a bit bitter. If you smell it, it doesn't have actually a fragrance of that much of in tea. But yes, it has a different fragrance in itself. It is a little bitterish in taste, but it's like, just like a normal bhaji. So that's an experience which you only get it in Coonoor, nowhere else,
Oh,
not even in Ooty.
interesting.
Yes, so try to do that. So you would come across some of the important tea estates, because tea is the primary occupation of the farmers and the tea estates across the Nilgiri district of Tamil Nadu. So there are some famous tea growing regions called as the Glenmold or the Glenmorgan tea estate. So these are some of the tea estates which comes to my mind right away, which are extremely picturesque. Not in doubt about it. Because what happens is most people just go nearby the road, go to the hills, just in between the tea estates, take a picture and come back. But when you go inside, right, what happens is you have always got a tea experience zone, basically, which is like a tea selling point as well, and that's in factory outlet. So you might get a chance to do some tea tasting, which is rare in a country like India. We do not have many places where tea is grown, so you can get an experience of tea tasting, as well as you can buy some beautiful amazing Nilgiri chai, which is completely different than the Assam tea. So these are some of the unique experiences with respect to the touristy places in Coonoor, but they are equivalently very beautiful, and still I would still highly recommend it, because it truly provides a different side and a true sense of what Nilgiri mountain ranges has to offer to a tourist or to a Musafir.
Yeah, 100%, and so beautifully covered off, like very aptly also, right? Like you know it at the back, like the back of your hand. Just a couple other things to add here, Ayush. Like you mentioned, obviously Lamb's Rock and Dolphin's Nose Point, along with Catherine Falls. Those are the most popular ones. So, especially if you're doing this for the first time, just make sure to visit those.
Yeah, I think one more point, that if anybody is going using Google Maps, just make sure that you, I think, check with people there, because
Yeah, exactly.
we passed by the point and we kept looking, and the Google Maps kept showing us in all possible wrong directions. And then we saw like so many cars parked, and we were like, okay, this has to be some point here. Let's just get down here. And then we got down, people were like, oh, this is Dolphin's Nose. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
And I feel one more interesting part is Dolphin's Nose. You can actually see like that peak, right? Like that peak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I expected the same thing in Lamb's Rock. So I thought there might be a huge rock that would be
No.
like a lamb. But yeah, then I kept looking around, and then I told Saif, nothing resembles a lamb here. And then we Googled and we looked up, and it was actually named after a
Exactly.
person.
Captain
who-
Lamb.
Yeah, Captain Lamb, who settled
Actually,
there and
no, I think,
he discovered the place.
Yeah, he found the route to this place first, I believe.
Correct.
There's a couple other like similar touristy viewpoints. You could say one is the Lady Canning Seat.
Exactly.
This is also another viewpoint, not too far away. So if you get a chance, you could do that as well. And there's a couple other falls too. But yeah, like with any other hill station, there's a lot of viewpoints. As you're driving, you could perhaps make stops at dozen
Exactly.
different places and catch different views each time, right? So
Correct.
do that. And the other interesting experience, like you mentioned, the tea estates and the tea factories, right? That's also
Correct.
something very unique. And to your point, especially if you're living in the plains where tea isn't grown, this is a unique experience that you should definitely get. And a couple of factories I saw, Ayush, I don't know if you had a chance to visit any of these. One was Highfield Tea Estate, right? That was one. And another one was Guernsey Tea Factory, Guernsey or Guernsey
Yes,
Tea
yes.
Factory here. Both of them, like to your point, like how the Glenmorgan or the other ones offer, they offer you the experience of one tea tasting, the second you getting a chance to actually see the whole process in which it goes through, right? There's like so many
Correct.
intricacies. It's just not one type of tea. There's different types of teas depending on the season, right? When the plucking is done, they call, I think, different flushes and all that. So
Correct.
there is a lot of guided walks also. So if you get a chance, like definitely utilize that opportunity to get a good understanding of the whole process of tea making too. I think it's just astonishing. So just a few things to call out there. What was on your mind next? Like, did you cover off any other places in the vicinity, or what's planned next?
Exactly. So, Saif and Faiza. So, as I mentioned before, I was planning a totally offbeat destination this time. So, I chose a beautiful stay as well. I should definitely mention it because it would be, I think, if I don't mention about that place or that accommodation, you would be missing something very unique. So, this hostel is there, which is run by a husband and wife. They both hail from Bangalore. It's
Yeah.
called as the Birdhouse Hostel. It's basically a backpackers hostel. But the unique thing about that hostel is they have taken inspiration right from the local things which are available in around Nilgiris, and they have done the detailing or the paintings in that particular historical hostel. It's an hostel which is which is in the building on which the hostel is basically present. It's about 100 years old, so you get a colonial vibes there as well. So taking the recommendations from the hostel, the Birds House hostel, I chose the next destination, which is not at all known to many people. It's called as the Tiger Hills. So this hostel is located right in the Tiger Hills itself. So the best way to cover any non-explored part in Coonoor is by walk, not by any other medium, Saif and Faiza, but we should be very careful that you have a lot of leopard sightings in and around Coonoor. So do not step early in the morning, like before sunrise when it is still dark, or late in the evenings, because you might get trapped with elephants or gaur, or even to that extent leopards at some times, which can be dangerous. So what I did is I walked all the across from the hostel uphill to the Tiger Hill Cemetery. So that is another cemetery which was constructed for the Britishers to for the burial purposes, as the name suggests. And this is around, I think, 150 or 200 years approximately that old that particular cemetery is. So that way from the Coonoor town to the Tiger Hills itself is very beautiful. So you would be walking on the cliff, which is surrounded by tea estates all around. So there is another beautiful tea estate called as the Homedale Tea Estate. So you would be coming across that. And when you go across that tea estate on the way, if you plan your journey for a sunrise, so that's the sunrise spot in in Coonoor. So if you walk further down, you would go to the Tiger Hill Cemetery. You can spend some time around. So as we mentioned before about the movie Kapoor and Son, so there is one
Yeah.
scene of a cemetery being shot, or where Alia Bhatt and Siddharth were there. So that cemetery which is there, that's the Tiger Hill Cemetery. So it will take you back to the bygone era. Might be a little scary as well, because I personally felt it a little bit scary, because it is in a secluded spot, and a good spot to sit around, maybe just do a little bit of a book reading or just to explore the location. It's on the top of the hill, so you get to see a lot of like again panoramic view of the tea estates around, and you would get to see the entire valley across the horizon, with some beautiful houses, colonial houses, some beautiful wood houses on the horizon across the valley. And the sunsets are extremely beautiful again. And I think another thing which many people have forgotten to explore about any hill station are their cafes and the food. So this was one takeaway which I would recommend any of the people who are coming, is to also explore the food of Coonoor. Coonoor is an extremely, I would say, a beautiful paradise, or a plate laid out for some amazing cuisine. So you have local food available in some of the, I would say, historical restaurants. There is a restaurant. I've totally forgotten the name of that place, but they sell something called as the Wellington Paratha. So, so you can. Wellington is another hill station or another place which is just located next to Coonoor. We would be discussing in the next course. So that paratha is something which is unique and available only there. And there are some beautiful cafes. To name some, I would definitely recommend. One is Cafe DM. So which is again started by a lady who hailed from the cities, who has started her own cafe, and it's one of the most beautiful cafes in the entire country. It's located on a on a quite good altitude, so you would get to see another very beautiful view of the entire Nilgiri's town, the Coonoor town, the Nilgiri Mountains, and a lot of tea estates. And that particular cafe is famous for its handmade pastas. So when you go to such places, right, you should experience the food, which is a bit of Anglo-Indian sometimes, a bit
Right.
of modern food. So bakeries, another not to mention thing is the bakery. Bakery is amazingly good in Ooty and Coonoor both. So the first or the place which I would recommend is Moody's or modern stores, which is extremely popularly known in the Nilgiri district. So Moody's is that place where you get very good homemade chocolates, because
Yeah.
homemade chocolate comes into mind when you think about Ooty, right? So,
Yes.
so there are thousands of places selling homemade chocolates, but many of them are not real. It's more of sugary and less of cocoa. But when you go to the smoothies, right, you would get the sense of bitter chocolate. You would
Yeah,
get the
Moody.
flavors of
Correct. Moody is our favorite too.
Oh, that's so good, right? So
Yeah.
I thought this is one thing which people do not know. Actually, people do not research but much about it. And one small story I would like to share here, sir. What happened is I was in the Tiger Hill Cemetery. I was all alone. It was evening, 5 o'clock, and I got hit or bit by a honeybee on my head
my
while
God.
taking a picture.
Oh my God.
I have little long hair, so it got entangled in my hair and it just couldn't come out. Okay, so what happened is when you are in an offbeat destination, you might be when you are alone, you might be having little bit difficulties with conversing with the people, because everybody will not be able to understand maybe English or to some extent Hindi as well, and I'm not aware of Tamil, so I I was not understanding how to explain. I was in immense pain at that particular point of time, and I was never bitten by a honeybee in my life,
Yeah,
so it was
honeybee is painful.
it's painful, yeah, and that too in head. I literally felt a bit unconscious at some point of time. Then there's one great experience when you go to rural background or the real India. India resides in its villages, right? We have that
Right.
saying. When you go to these rural places, right, people are always ready to help you. Rather, be it that you are able to speak the language or not. There was this old woman. There was an old woman and a very old, I would say, grandpa, basically a very old uncle who was coming on the way. So I just told that I couldn't explain him what I should do. I didn't know how to explain him, but he understood. I said, "Bit honey, honey." I said he understood it. Then he took it out, because we need to take the sting out of your body so that the poison effects is not there.
Thank God that it wasn't anything serious with the honeybee bite.
No,
But yeah, apparently, you got bit by a honeybee, but there used to be tiger sightings back in the day, and that's how the name also came
Yes.
to be Tiger Hill. So yeah, a lot of wildlife and very, very rich in wildlife.
Correct.
And also touching upon food, right? You mentioned some very iconic places as well within Coonoor and in and around the area. A couple of them, Crown Bakery and Indian Bakery. So those are also very popular for a couple of specialities. One being the Varki, right? It's
Correct. Yes.
I think, how do you say, Faiza?
Varki.
Yeah, Varki is the puff pastry type of.
Yeah, it's like a Swedish puff pastry-ish type, right?
Yeah.
It's a kara biscuit, which we
Yeah,
call
exactly.
Kara biscuit, yeah.
Bangarian language.
Kara biscuit. So you get it around that region, and it's very popular. I mean, even in Ooty you get it, and Coonoor also it's very
Yeah, we loved it.
popular.
It's the best thing to pair with Nilgiri chai. Nothing
Chai,
close,
right?
comes close to it.
Exactly. Oh my God. So I got like a box of that Varki back to all my friends at work. So I remember we heated it for like some few seconds, and then everybody chai time pe we ate, took one piece initially, and then within a second the entire box was over. Everybody jumped onto it and we ate.
Exactly.
It was
Yeah, and
amazing.
apparently they're trying to get a GI tag for this now. So I hope that works out because yeah, it is very unique. You don't really find this a lot in other places of other parts of India.
Yeah.
So definitely try out the Varki, and yeah, Crown Bakery's honey cake and
Yes.
it's hot cross buns are very popular. So definitely try those things out. One other place, if you already mentioned Kapoor and Sons, right? You remember the villa that was used in the shooting
Yes,
for Kapoor and
yes.
Sons, where they live, where the family lives. So that is also apparently a hotel, and it also has a cafe. It's called Cafe. I think it's called La Belle
MacIver.
Vie. I think MacIver is the group or the hotel, and the cafe is La Belle Vie, I think, and that's also something. It's very beautiful, right? If you've seen the movie, it's so beautiful. So that's another thing you could probably make a stop at if you have the time for it.
So what happened, sir, is I actually had planned to go to this particular place where the Kapoor and Sons was shot. It's a very, very beautiful building, no doubt, and it's located on such an amazing location. Like you would get to see the Coonoor town. If you remember the movie, you would see the shots of Coonoor town around, the hills around, and the tea plantations around. So it's right amidst a place where you can get a very good view of the Coonoor town itself, not the valley, I would say, but the Coonoor town. Yes, but one thing about that place is Saif and Faiza, like you need to call them and ask in prior if the restaurant is open, because what happens is that they particularly lend that particular place, that particular property for movie shooting. So when I went, there was a movie of Dhanush being shot there, so I couldn't get a chance to go and have my food. But that's an I have heard that it's a very good recommended place to have a good lunch. Particularly, maybe you can just give them a call and go there. And the same goes with the Cafe DM as well. You need to book in prior. Take the reservation and then go, because it's a very crowded place sometimes, and they do not have so much of place to manage. So you need to call them, book your seats, and then go there. So these are some food places or cafes which I had mentioned, but I forgot to mention another place. There is something called as Open Kitchen, so which is also known for its good pizza. So the pizza is amazingly good there, to be very frank. Since we are from Bangalore, I'm from Bangalore, we get very good pizza here as well. But when you have a pizza box sitting in that cold atmosphere with the Nilgiri chai and the mountains, the feeling of eating pizza is different. So you can try their pizza. They have some unique flavors. So that's another place which comes to my mind with respect to food.
Yeah. Suddenly the pizza doesn't feel greasy anymore, right, when you're having it in a hill station.
Exactly.
So definitely that. And there's another place called Hotel Ramchandra. So maybe that's where the Wellington special that you mentioned, the parota.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
How is it? I've not heard about this one.
So it's something like I would say if you know about Mughlai paratha, which is available in West Bengal, it's a very popular dish in the in the Durga Puja season. So what happens is there's this minced mutton or chicken basically, and what they do is they fill with the Indian masalas, make out a mixture, and fill it within this maida wala deep fried. Not a very healthy option though, but once in a while it's good in the paratha. Deep fry it, and you would also have a covering or a layer of egg with it. So it really tastes good with the chutney.
Okay, so Bangalore we call it anda khima roti. I think it's something like that.
Something similar. Exactly.
Okay, interesting. Nice.
Yeah, it does have
yummy.
some. It has
Yum.
both, I think, extremes, right? One side cafes and the modern continental type of food, handmade pastas, for example, like you said, and the other side you have the very local parotas and the Wellington special, like it's called. So make sure to try that out. Wrong time to be discussing food, Faiza, after dinner. Oh god, okay. Cool. I think this is brilliant. Like a lot of these places, like I said, it's a little off the beaten path, right? So that way you get to enjoy it a little bit more and also stay away from the crowds. So there's that added benefit too. Where next to, Ayush, after covering off some of these places, both in terms of sightseeing plus food and cafes?
Yeah. So since I went alone, I like to speak a lot. You must be knowing about me. So I speak a lot and I make friends in no time. So what happened is back in the backpackers hostel. So I met these two ladies who were from different corners of India. One was from Madhya Pradesh and one was from Maharashtra, basically. So these two ladies and we had decided that we'll do the journey together the whole day. So what we did is we went to another place called as Wellington. I think that's one place which nobody visits, I would say. You would not find a single tourist there. It's only the local people from Nilgiri, Coonoor or Ooty who have come to that particular place. And it's an extremely protected and a very, I would say, very offbeat destination because it's a defense area. So you're in a protected zone. So Wellington is that place where the Madras Regiment is settled. So Madras Regiment is one of the earliest regiments of Indian Army. So this place is known to be blessed with amazing soldiers, Field Marshal Manekshaw. And it's, as I mentioned, it's the headquarters of the Madras Regiment. So it's not a tourist destination, to be very clear to everyone. It's not a tourist destination to explore because you are in a protected zone. However, you can go for a small walk there. So what we did is we got down near the staff college. There is a staff college which is the entrance of the Wellington cantonment area or the military area. So when you get down there, you can just take the road which goes further down towards the Wellington railway station. It's approximately 2.5 kilometers walk. So you start from the staff college, walk down, you would get to see some of the houses of some of the important military people all around, and then you reach to a place which is called as the War Memorial, where the headquarters of Madras Regiment is located. So there is a very big statue, basically a statue of 5-6 soldiers who were shouting the motto and the slogans or the war cry of the Madras Regiment. So I do not know Tamil, but it's something like, "Oh Madrasi, Adikolu, Adikolu, Adikolu." So that means get up Madrasi, go and fight, go and fight. So that's how it is. You would see very patriotic messages all the way around, and the entire road is so beautiful. It is lined with pine trees. It's very breezy, very cold, and I would say very chirpy with birds all around. Very green. You would not find a single person all around there. There is a museum as well which has the history, the reflection of the Madras Regiment, but unfortunately due to COVID at that point of time I couldn't visit it. It was closed for public to visit that particular place. And once you walked further down, you would reach to a place where there's a beautiful temple, there's a church, there is a mosque. All the religious entities are present there. And then further when you walk down, you would get something called as the Wellington Lake. So there's a beautiful small lake. It's a very picture perfect lake again. You would not find much tourists there. I think only the people who are living in the cantonment area visit that place. And there are beautiful places to take very good portrait photographs. And after that we just went back to our hostel. So this took about 3 to 4 hours almost. So you can plan it in such a way that when you go for a walk, you have some friends with you or somebody whom you know. You can have a great time to walk around, have some local food. You would get some nice bhajis and some different kinds of fruits. So Ooty and Coonoor, again you get many different kinds of hill fruits, which I would say, which is not that easily available in the other places. One is maybe a passion fruit, which is not easily available in places or cities. That you can taste there. You can get rambutan, some of the other unique fruits which are local to that place you would get there. So taste some of them. You can click some beautiful pictures, take a good detour and explore the Wellington cantonment area of the Coonoor. Yes.
Yeah, definitely a very different experience from the other two towns, and like you're mentioning, a very heavy army presence you could feel.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And also, if people can remember the unfortunate incident where General V.K. Singh and his helicopter crashed, right? It was around this area, right? Somewhere between Coonoor and Wellington is where it
Yes.
crashed. And there's always been, even from the time of the British, like you're saying, this has been a cantonment and headquarters of the Madras Regiment. Some good advice there. Any other points of interest which you perhaps did not get a chance to visit this time, Ayush, that you want to mention or highlight?
Actually there's one place, Saif and Faiza, I remember. It's a little offbeat again. You need to take a jeep and go to a place. It's like a hilltop. It's on a very high altitude. I think it's called Bakasura Peak or something like that.
Oh,
The name is little funny, but yes, the shape of that mountain looks to be like that. It's quite a very tall mountain. And to do other places across nearby Coonoor, some places which comes to my mind, the first destination would be Kotagiri. So Kotagiri again is 20 kilometers around from Coonoor. You have regular bus services, or you can just take an auto rickshaw. Just to mention one thing, auto rickshaws are a bit expensive in hill
Right.
stations as expected. So just to go to 2 kilometers in a hill station, they might charge you 120 to 150 rupees.
Yeah.
So that's a bit more. So plan it accordingly. Plan in such a way that if you're in a budget tight schedule, as I'm a solo traveler, I try to keep my budget as minimal as possible, or try to save, not at least in the traveling perspective. So you have regular bus services to go to Kotagiri. Kotagiri again has a beautiful stay. You have many beautiful stays across Nilgiris. So you can stay in Kotagiri for a day, explore the tea plantations all around. You will get to see a lot of wildlife there. Wildlife sightings are more, I would say, because it's a bit of offbeat destination. It's not a tourist destination as such. You have chances of maybe going across and trekking to the Catherine waterfalls. That's a very important destination in Kotagiri. And the second place, of course, would be Ooty. Ooty is just 20 kilometers from Coonoor, so that Ooty itself requires a 2 to 3 days of itinerary. That's a different topic. But when you are visiting Coonoor, if you really want to get a little bit of flavor of Ooty, you can go just for a short visit. Take a train ride. It's a good way to explore. I did the same. In the evening during the sunset, what I did is in the last day I had a little bit of time left with me. I just went for the lunch to Ooty. I went to the botanical gardens, explored a little bit, and I booked my train tickets to return from Ooty to Coonoor during the sunset time. That's a very beautiful train ride again, because sun will be setting across the horizon, and hill stations, right? Mist will be coming across. It's very cold there. So the train ride in the sunset is also very beautiful. You have a little bit of lights everywhere because it's a hilly place. So the panoramic view is different at that point of time. I think the other places would be, as I mentioned before, Madumalai Tiger Reserve and Bandipura Tiger Reserve, but they are a little further away on the way back to Mysore or Bangalore. You can explore that. And as well, the nearer point would be to go to Coimbatore. Maybe there are some places in Coimbatore, especially the Isa Yoga Center, which is extremely well known now. You can have a short trip or a day tour maybe there and just come back to Coonoor. So these are some places which I can think of as of now, which you can do as other to-do destinations around Coonoor and Ooty. Yes.
Yeah, for somebody who's looking for even like a month-long vacation, I think Ayush has an itinerary up his sleeve. So thanks so much for sharing all of these wonderful tips and sharing your own experience, right? Especially that train ride you mentioned from Ooty to Coonoor while the sun is setting, and just that getting a view of the glistening last rays of the sun on the tea estates and the valleys as you pass through it. I think just imagining it makes me want to go back and visit Coonoor. I think one other important thing I'd like to call out is BBC did a very awesome documentary on the Nilgiri Mountain Railway, along with the Shimla Kalka Railway as well as the Darjeeling Mountain Railway. It's beautiful, so definitely check that out. It'll inspire you if not anything else. It's a great way of not just showing you the beauty of the place, but it also mixes that so well with the locals of the place and their lives, right? So it's really brilliant. So all in all, like a very, very, very rich place, the Nilgiri biosphere. And if you get the chance, definitely do make it a point to visit it. And the slower you travel, the better it is in these regions. And like Ayush mentioned, the further away you get away from Ooty, the more offbeat and more laid back experience you'll have. So definitely try this out. And thanks so much, Ayush, for covering this on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Ayush. It was, as Saif said, really you got back all those beautiful memories of Ooty and Coonoor back in our minds. We will add all these links in the show notes section, and also we will add the link to the BBC documentary. And one more call out that Saif and I had done one episode for Audible on Ooty, so we will add a link to that. That's publicly available now, so we'll add a link to that also in our show notes section for anybody who wants to listen to our perspective of Ooty, not Coonoor. So yeah, very touristy, but yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ayush.
That was yet another great episode on the Musafir Stories. Make sure to show us some love by sharing the podcast with your friends and family. We are on Instagram and Twitter at Musafir Stories. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or the website. Follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.